Hi, I'm Shruti Balasa, tech educator from Bangalore. Have you heard of Tailwind CSS? I'm sure you have, but do you know if it's really for you? If you've loved designing web interfaces, but the thought of writing CSS from scratch has overwhelmed you, then Tailwind CSS is just the framework you need. Come and join me at Fire Port 80 where we see the magic of Tailwind CSS, we see how to install it, configure, customize, build some real world components, and also see when to use Tailwind CSS or when not to. You think all of this is possible in just 2 hours? Come and find out for yourself. See you on 8th of March at Technopark. Bye-bye.
Hi. On this special day, as we celebrate International Women's Day, we are thrilled to have an amazing speaker with us, that is Shruti Balasa. As Shruti Balasa is a full-stack web developer and a tech educator from Bangalore. As Shruti likes to make web development simple for beginners through her courses, YouTube tutorials, and ebooks. She is also an accomplished author, and her first book, Complete Guide to CSS Flex and Grid, has sold more than 1,400 copies across 80 years, 80 countries. Sorry. Shruti is a strong proponent and an expert on Tailwind CSS. And in this session, she shows us how we can use this popular utility for CSS framework to streamline the development process and makes it easier to create beautiful and responsive user interfaces. Without further delay, I invite her to the session. Shall I move on with any questions? Because I don't want this to become an entirely one-way session. If you have any questions, you can stop and ask already. No? We good? Okay. So let's look at one more simple example. Let's create a card. Okay. So I will again go back to Tailwind Play, and I'll just have a simple heading which says Fire OTT 101st session. Okay, and then let me add a paragraph with some random text, and let's just add a link that says learn more. Okay, so if you've never worked with Tailwind before, you will be surprised that all the default styles are stripped away, right? If you write this with regular CSS, like with no CSS at all in any browser, so if for example you write the same thing in CodePen, so I'll copy this and paste it here, you will see that this this is a H1. Immediately it has a bold font weight and it has certain size, and paragraph is small, and then link is automatically, it has an underline and it has a color. But the moment you do this, when Tailwind CSS is installed, everything looks the same. Heading, paragraph, and a link. That's because Tailwind normalizes the CSS. It makes sure that everything behaves the same so that you don't have to undo the styles. Because so many times we add a heading but we don't want it to be bold, like maybe H4 or something. We don't want that bold thing, we have to undo it. And also some margins for paragraphs. So many times we don't need this padding or margin. We'll have to undo all of that every time we start a new project or use some normalize. So Tailwind has this base CSS, it's called pre-flight. It unsets all these unnecessary things and makes it more regular for you to immediately start adding your own styles instead of worrying how the browser will by default render it. Okay, so now let's add our font semi-bold maybe, and then let's say text 3XL, and then I'll use some nice indigo 600. Okay, and for the paragraph I'll first add a margin top MT2, so that will create a little gap. Don't worry, you won't be able to write so fast immediately. I've worked with Tailwind for a very long time, so it's all in my mind. I'm able to quickly do it. And then for this link, let me make it look like a button. So first I'll add a margin, maybe MP4, and then I'll add a BG. Again, let's take Indigo 600. Then I'll make the text white. Okay, and then I'll add some padding. I'll add a different horizontal padding, maybe PX6 and then PY2. And then the MT4 did not work because by default a element is inline. So let me make it inline block. Okay, so you see that every single thing that you do in regular CSS, already the classes are available. Most of the things, you have it there. And then I want some rounded corners. So I'll just say rounded. You can use it with almost any framework. If you're able to use regular CSS, you should be able to use Tailwind CSS also. Like let's say you're using React, you're using Vue, you're using Laravel, you're using Django framework, you're using anything, you should be able to install. And there are multiple guides in the docs of Tailwind itself on how to install it. So if you go here to the docs and just go to installation, you can see that there are multiple ways of doing it. And if you're somebody who's not very much into front end, and you simply, instead of using HTML and regular CSS, you want to use HTML and Tailwind CSS. If you want to set it up in a very simple project without using any frameworks, any front end or full stack frameworks, then you can follow the simplest step, which I'm going to show you right now. Right? So what I'll do is I'll open up terminal, I'll create a new folder. So I'll go to desktop and I'll create a new folder saying Tailwind CSS, cd Tailwind CSS. I'll open this up in Visual Studio Code. The best, what do you say, editor to use is Visual Studio Code because it has an extension that helps you autocomplete Tailwind CSS classes. I will show you which one that is. So here this is a brand new folder. I don't have any frameworks in this. I'll open terminal within this. And what I'll do is, I'll first create a simple index, no, I'll create a public folder within which I'll create an index.html. So it's a very simple, maybe project. And you just want to have a heading that says, welcome to Tailwind CSS. Okay. So now if you open this in the browser, this is what you see. Just a plain HTML project. But now let's install Tailwind CSS in this and see how we can add some classes. Let me also add some class and I'll show you that this will not work. Right? So if I just refresh, nothing, because these class names are nothing without Tailwind CSS. Now let's initiate, NPM. Now, NPM, how many of you know NPM or worked with it before? Okay, few of you. For the others, just think of it as a tool that helps you run Tailwind CSS. For now, you can learn about it a little later. So most of the front end is, with any framework you work these days, NPM is like very essential. There are a lot of packages in it which you can install through NPM. It's a node package manager. So any package you create, you can put it there and for other people to download and things like that. So I will just npm init -y. So I'll initialize a new, what do you say, new project with that. That will create a package.json file. This is just the default stuff. Now let me install Tailwind CSS looking at the docs. So first it says use the command npm install -d Tailwind CSS. Let me type it. And -d here means it's a dev dependency. That is, we use Tailwind CSS for only development. So what was that? Refusing to install. That's interesting. Okay, great. So I am not sure what the problem is. What we'll do is, oh, I think I named the folder Tailwind CSS, right? Apparently, I cannot use the package Tailwind CSS. So let me rename this and let's get back. I'll rename it to Tailwind and then open this in Visual Studio Code. Okay, file, open, desktop, Tailwind. Yeah. So now let's try the same thing. Still doesn't work. Okay, what I'll do is I'll open up a folder that already has it. I had put it into a recycle bin, so I'll have to take the same thing. Usually this works, okay? This is the first time it's not working for me. So don't think that... They don't believe you. Yeah, you don't believe me? Unfortunate. Okay. So I'll open this and I'll have to just remove all of this. So this is bad. Okay, so here's an existing project. I will just do the same thing. Tailwind CSS, and then let's see. So text. I'll open this with live server. And yeah, so Tailwind CSS is not installed. I just removed the config file, so it says it's not installed, but that npm command, after you run it, this is what it looks like. So the next thing we do is npx tailwind css init. That is, the moment we run this command, the default configuration file is generated. Okay. So see, it says created, and then now we have the config file here. This is the default configuration. Right now you don't have to worry about it. The next thing you do is configure your template path. So the moment you look at it, you don't understand what exactly is happening. What am I supposed to do? What does this mean? So what Tailwind CSS actually does is it looks at your HTML file, it searches, it parses for those class names that you have. That is text4xl, bg black, color blue, all of those classes. It looks for those. It converts that into regular CSS. So there is no different magic. It has a mapping of all those utility classes to regular CSS. So it passes for all those classes and creates a styles, creates that regular CSS code for you of how many ever lines, and you will be able to directly, upload your CSS file. For Tailwind to be able to do that, it should know all the files that you're using the utility classes in. It should know, are you using it in HTML files, or if you are using a different framework like Laravel, it's the PHP files, if you're using React or Vue, JSX files, and so on. For that, you have to mention the path here. Path of all the files where you will use the utility classes. So here, if we just copy this, this means that our path is src folder and all the files that have extension HTML and JS. But in our case, we have this public folder, right? So instead of src, this will be public. This is where a lot of people get confused while installing Tailwind CSS. They won't know what it means and they will randomly, they'll have a different path. That's why it will not work. And within the public folder, we can have as many subfolders we want, or we can, have it directly. We can have our index.html directly within public. So I will remove this, right? So here the path is all the HTML files within any number of folders in the public directory. So that's all. This is the only line you will have to edit to start with Tailwind CSS, and then second step is done. Now add the Tailwind directives. I'll tell you what this is. Let me copy it, and you can create an input.css file directly within root. You can call it anything actually, but because it says input.css, let's follow the convention. And remember I told you that Tailwind adds some base styles, so it strips off all the, it undoes, it makes sure that the H1, H2, all these are not bold, etc. So that has been done by this directive. So the moment Tailwind CSS scans your input.css, it will see this line and it converts it into maybe some 200 lines of regular CSS, right? And similarly these two also, it converts it into regular CSS. So if you don't want those default styles, if you want the browser default and not Tailwind CSS styles, you can entirely ignore these. You can, delete these. But then don't expect Tailwind to work the way it works in the docs, okay? So it's important. I recommend adding this. This is the third step. Now what's the fourth step? Start the build process, right? So let's see if it's done. But before that, let me create a styles.css file directly within public, and it's empty. I'm not going to add anything to this. This is not the file you should edit, because this is the file Tailwind generates for you. This file will be, filled with by Tailwind CSS, so you should not edit this. I'll close this, or okay, I'll keep it open for you to see what happens, and then let me link this style sheet. Okay, so here you're linking this style sheet and not the input one, right? So this is your input, this is your output. You're linking the output style sheet in your HTML file, whichever HTML file that you want. So once again, Tailwind is still not working because we have not built it. Now let's do the build process. So we use npx Tailwind CSS. Using Tailwind CSS, we are saying convert the input file input.css in the root and output it to, we have to give the path where you want it to output. So I'll just say public / styles.css, right? And then I want it to continue watching. So as you make edits to the files and save, it will automatically build every time. So you don't have to keep running the command. You just add watch flag and it works. So it's saying rebuilding. And now if I go to the browser, it works. See, the blue color is added. It has a bold, bold font and everything. So now I can simply change this to text red 600 and save it. Immediately you noticed that it built it once again, and this has changed, right? So if you want to install Tailwind CSS in a simple project and get started with it in your local host, this is how you go about it. So let's go back. So installation and setup is done. Now, a lot of people hesitate or stop using Tailwind CSS or think that this is not for us. Maybe I cannot use Tailwind CSS because it has a set of colors, it has a set of spacing. Yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot to show that, right? Yeah.
I just want to check if it will generate only the used CSS or
yes.
for all the.
So first 400 odd lines is that the base styles, like I said. Okay. After this, like after say 500, yeah. So see, it has text 4XL and the text blue 600 that we used before, and then we deleted it, right? For a while it will be cached. Okay, so once you stop the build process, so if you want to see that, let's say I stop this build process, because what if you change your mind? You use red and then again you think no, blue look better. Let me go back to blue. Then the building takes time. Right now it was done in 19 milliseconds, but it will take time. But if you stop the build process and do it once again, see, it's gone. The blue is gone now. So it's using only text red 600 and text 4XL. Those two are the only styles that we've added.
So we have included base, then components, then
yes.
one more was
Utilities. Yeah.
So here base will be always there, right? In the generated CSS file, base will be always there.
Yeah. So if you don't want, if you remove this entirely, then that won't be there.
Okay.
So let's say I remove this and then go to styles.css. I think I'll have to stop the build process and start again. Actually, it should be there, at least those two things, but I think they changed something in the latest version that you will have to have these.
Base also, right?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking I'm using Bootstrap for a long time.
Okay.
So in Bootstrap we have all the predefined set of CSS there.
Hmm.
So when it comes to Tailwind, if we are keeping all the base, all the components, all the utilities there, it's same as Bootstrap. Like we are keeping all the pieces there.
No, it's just, see, it's just 600 lines of code. If you check Bootstrap, it's not 600. It's if you check the file size.
Okay, that means here
these are just, this is just like a normalized CSS. Yes, that's it. It is probably 10 KB or something. But Bootstrap, I'm sure it's
normalization plus the utility class. In Bootstrap, we have normalization.
Plus, it has all the utility classes. Like if whether you're using margin 1, 2, 3 or not, you're using only margin 1. But it has already added 2 and 3 also. Yes. You cannot purge it.
So the difference is like here base plus whatever utility class we use in the file that will be generated.
Yes, exactly. So even if you have like 10 pages with about, say maybe 1000 utility classes also, the file size will not go beyond 20 KB. That's the whole point. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah. So we will have a short break for you to digest and gulp all of this in with maybe coffee or tea or something. Yeah. So you can gulp this knowledge, digest it, and then come back with a bang. He has something to say.
So we will have a short coffee break. So how is it going? Nice?
Somebody has something to say. You can actually speak. Yeah. First time, somebody said something.
First timers. Like how because I just want to bring you here. Just because you have to get in the industry, you have to get connected. There are a lot of people who are into web development also here. It is not just about listening to something, it is also about getting connected with people, your field, your area. Right? Because whenever you want to do something, you have to get the confidence that there is someone else to help you to make it happen. So I appreciate you people like taking this path to learn a skill. Because we know like right now in Kerala, most of the people will try to go for bank coaching, civil service coaching, PSC coaching, Years and years you put effort to try for that. The learnings that you make there, if you don't get that job, it is of no use. Here in technology, if you build a skill, if you spend 30 days, just I quote Jiku, he says like 30 days, if you put sincere effort towards learning a proper skill and know how to build something, that is enough for you to get a either get a very good earning. It might be a job, it can be a gig work, or it can be your own enterprise that you work with. But it should not be for getting a certificate. You are prioritizing those to learn a skill. Don't see it as a degree that you want to get and get towards. Somebody will do some competitive examination, so checking your logic and then get to a company. So there is a lot of opportunities there. There are a lot of opportunities that you can create by yourself. You don't need to wait for anyone. Did she wait for anyone to create her path? Right, you had seen an example here. But just try something, put her effort and carve her path. And each one you can be a student. Right. Only difference here what she made is she was consistent in putting that effort. There were different people who tried to tell her that it is not going to work, there is not much change that is happening. Right? So if you go to a gym, if you do some exercise, on a single day anything will happen. You come back and check, everything will happen. Second day also the same, but something. But in a gym, apart from a spa, what happens is if you go to a spa, when you come back, some difference will happen and you don't have to do anything. Somebody else will do those things for you. But in skill building, you should understand it is not a gym, it is not a spa, it is a gym. There will be trainers there, but if the trainer does all the things, you will get muscles. You have to put the effort to do it by yourself, right? So whatever in the past you have done on in the colleges and all those things, when you learned the skills, it was for an examination. It was a memorization game. Learn these things, memorize it and put in the answer sheets, get some mark, get a certificate, and someone will hire you. So right now you are not in that path. You are there to build skills. So see it as a gym. Whenever you get opportunities, you have to go there and do it by yourself. And moreover, how much longer you do, how much effort that you put on that, the muscles that you will be better. Similarly, the path, your career path that you will get will be much better based on individual performance. Individual performance. It is not like a company will come and hire all 20 of you. Those who put sincere effort, there is a solid chance for you to get there, and just 30 days you have to spend. We also have a support mechanism which we are connecting with, I suppose, for you. It is called Mueller, where you can come and connect with mentors, work on real world problems, build something. As you said, you have to build and ship something. That is, if you learn web development, you have to try and create a website for your portfolio, or try to create something for a shop there nearby. And give it to him. Like we can, Mueller is there to help you to make it live. And you can give it to them and tell like, here is your website, shashiranshop.com. And the QR code, anybody comes in, then ask him to take that. Find one shop which you can make it live. And that will add something to your portfolio, which is called your proof of work. Whenever you are building skills, You should establish your proof of work to get people acknowledge that you know those things, right? You know, like when she started, when she released her first book, it didn't go well. It is not because of the content inside that or her knowledge. It was not visible to the public that she is someone who could get that quality work. So the proof of work should be there. It is not just about building skills. It is also showcasing that you know these things, and there are different places where you can do that, where companies are looking whether these people, anybody who has built those capabilities. There is a lot of opportunities, lot of vacancies there, and which is unfilled. Companies are telling we are not getting talents, and there are a lot of people there doing a lot of courses, completing, coming up with the certificates, and saying like there is no job here. It is not like that. If you put sincere effort, honest effort towards that, building that skills, taking and playing with it, and actually overcoming the fear. Like when we start driving, learning driving, you know, like our fear is to whether we need to apply the clutch, brake, and all those things, right? What speed we have to do, whether it will hit that place, all those fears are there. How does it go? It will go from you only when you start driving, right? Continuously driving and building, and then you get to a stage where all these are your reflexes. You do not even bother about whether you have to change the gear or anything of that sort because it became as part of your reflex action. Similarly, majority of programmers here they fear coding just because they haven't done enough effort or enough built enough applications to clear their fear. So only solution is practice, build and ship. Build things, ship it, make it live, and let a few people start using it. Session, you have to start building something that will be used by someone instead of keeping it with you. Okay, that's all. And everyone got tea, coffee. Break is enough. It was not a break. So it is also connecting to each other. So I just want to listen to you. So how do you feel now? Like it is just like on evening, like I see folks, they just ask to go there. Is it like that? What do you feel? Somebody. And also another important thing is like you should have the confidence to speak. Those people will get forward much easier. Right. So who will speak
At this
first?
point, I want to share something.
Yeah.
It might look like I was born speaking, or maybe I was always comfortable speaking to people. Trust me, I am an introvert. I still am an introvert. I couldn't sleep well last 3 nights because I had to come here and talk. Because I've given a lot of talks. Trust me, in non-technical, technical. Recently, 2 weeks ago in Ahmedabad, I spoke to 1,200 people. It was a very huge stage. But still, I feared talking to 40 people. I feared meeting him because I am an introvert. That's my nature. I see a lot of you also here are introverts. That doesn't mean this is how you are. You should not accept saying that I cannot speak. Let me be like this only. I can show my work, like what I can code or I can write, I can do all of that. I can use my brain, but I cannot talk to people. If you're like that, you will remain like that forever. I don't know. Somehow I broke that barrier. It happened by chance. I can say during my engineering, I joined an MLM, multi-level marketing, company by mistake or I don't know. It had computer courses, so we had to sell computer courses. Many of you might have even heard of that. EBIS, if you've heard of EBIS, yeah. I ended up joining EBIS because there were courses, but then they slowly started, encouraging me to promote it to your friends, talk to your friends about it. It'll improve your communication skills and so on. So I was forced to do it, and thanks to them, I was able to give talks to like 2 people first, and then 5 people, and then 10 people, and so on. I was able to break that fear. It still happens, but I'm at least able. I know that once I come on stage, I'll do well. Before I come, there is that fear. So don't think that I am natural at this. I also have done a lot of, I think the past 10 years I've given multiple stage appearances, which is why I'm able to be here. So you also can start small. First, in your company itself, talk to your team. There are a lot of such chances you get. Probably your manager will ask you, do you want to present this time? Or maybe you can go and say, I want to do it this time. There are just 5, 6 people. Start with that. Then it will, slowly go up to 10. Maybe in a company meetings, take that initiative. Give me that chance. Nobody is going to laugh. Do people laugh these days? It happens in school and colleges. These days, nobody laughs when you make a mistake on stage. Recently, also in Ahmedabad, when I think I was not able to make it full screen or something. I struggled for a couple of minutes, because my hands were shivering. And the moment I was able to do it, everybody applauded for me. So the support has changed. We fear that when we make a mistake on stage, right now that didn't work. It has always worked. Here it doesn't work. Usually in live demos it happens. But does that stop me from ever giving talks again? We all make mistakes. It's very normal. So it's okay if you speak and you stutter, your English is not great. Doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You have to put yourself out there and make mistakes and learn.
Yeah. Today's session, like normally 5 opportunities, now most of the people who come will be on much experience side from the professional thing. Today we want to invite you, and there is a mix, like very entry level people who actually starting to learn coding or HTML, web development, and also we have stronger people who have 5 to 10 years of experience in coding. So this session we have to serve for both. So somebody like you can even ask very basic questions, and you will be people there to answer you. So if you are learning something that you cannot digest based on your common sense, that you means like you are not learning it properly, you are not understanding it. So can someone just explain how does a website work? Which one are the elements that is included in a website? When you're accessing a website, like for example, www.google.com, what are the players there helping you out to load the website for you? Yeah, you just talk. Mistakes?
Yeah, first the web server must be there.
Yeah, first there should be a web server. Very good. Remember your name? Anupama. Yeah. So there should be a web server. Whatever you know, you just say. It is not about right or wrong. It is about everyone getting to the same concept. So I will
Yeah.
Okay, first we will be the client will be sending request from a browser. Then it will be the server will be getting the request from the client. Then the server will process the request based on the input from the user and tell whether database center is required or not, something like that. Whether depending on the whether sorry actually okay, the server will request whether a dynamic content is needed or a static content is needed. If static content is needed, only HTML pages has to be sent to the user, or otherwise it has to go to database or something and fetch the details from there and put it into the browser for the client.
Okay.
That's a lot actually.
Yeah. Excellent. So what she was telling is that there is something called a web server that makes these things happen. So there is a browser. You know different browser names, right? Can you tell some browser names?
Internet Explorer.
Yeah, Chrome, Explorer, Edge. All these are browsers that we use to browse for a website. So that is why you are typing in, keying in the address which you want to get. And there is something called a DNS which will help you to identify the IP address of the server where it is getting hosted. Right? And then in that server there is something that is called a web server. How many of you can name me 2-3 web servers? Apache, okay. Okay, Tomcat, IAS, Nginx. Yeah, there are different web servers. The web server's responsibility is to listen to a particular port on any HTTP request or HTTPS request that is coming. HTTP is on port 80. So you know it is FIA port 80 you came here. It is a port 80 where the information exchange happens between FIA and the outside world, and it is free and open, and port 80 is the free and open port in a server. Okay, so similarly, HTTP is the free and open port where this information exchange happens, and the Apache server collects this request, and there might be a configuration where you check for whether that code exists in the server. So there is a virtual host might be set in the http.conf or something, and our code is put in a particular folder var/www/html etc. One folder might be there. So in the configuration file, it will be set like if a request is coming for this thing, go to that folder. So it will get towards that folder. So it is index.html or index.php or whatever, Python or anything of that. So it, as she said, if it is a static page, it will just return the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript towards the server, towards the browser. So the server's need is just to collect the request, get it executed, and then send back to the browser at which it requested. There will be millions of requests that is coming in. So the Apache will send it back there. And if it is a dynamic thing, it has to execute. It has to connect to database, execute all those things, and generate the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and then send it. So the browser is what paints it for you. It is the browser's responsibility. It has a browser engine. It has a JavaScript engine. It will have what it will draw, that is divs, colors, and all those things is painted by browsers. It is the browser's responsibility. And CSS is what gives styles and colors to your website. Right? HTML mostly is on the containers and all those things, and then colors and all those things is given by CSS. And CSS has been written from long period, like it is very unstructured, lot of then it came class and all. Initially the CSS was written within the HTML tags itself, you know, right? A style. Then we started adding style sheets there, and right now Tailwind is there to serve your life in a way like you don't need to struggle with a lot of things, with including some simple classes there. It will easily make it working for you, right? So if you are learning Drupal also, you have to do the styling there, right? So there are different methods and different mechanisms. That is, keeping updated with the toolings that is happening is very important. It is mostly about, I was talking to her, it is about using the right tools and using the tools right. Right? You have a tool, but if you are not using it right, there is no use of that, right? So it is just like you have a spanner. You decide on, I will only use this spanner while there is a power tool that is available. After some period, what happens is like people who use the power tools will be the one who is going to take the job of people who decides I will only use the spanner. Nobody else is going to take your job ever. But the decision is yours to whether to use the power tool or the spanner. And these power tools make your life much easier, make it consistent across all the different places, right? But you consider it as complex. But it is not complex, it is unfamiliar. You might be mostly unfamiliar with those things, and by yourself, when you are alone, you might not be able to overcome that unfamiliarity, and that is where these type of sessions happen, where you come and interact with people and make it familiar, and then you have to get back and practice by yourself. Okay? And for the experienced people, like you will have a lot of other questions like, is it something pure was using the same thing, that is it has a relation with that, or like is it for e-commerce websites, can we use Tailwind? How we will transform all our code towards Tailwind, that is whether we need to take that step or not. So both of these you will answer, then only I will drop you to the airport, and then only you can catch your flight. So you have to answer all the questions here. So break is over. Continue.
Thank you so much for that short break, and bridging the gap between where we are going, and for some people to get an idea. So you don't have to understand 100% of it. Those you are not able to, but now you have an idea, And if you feel interest in this field, if you feel that this looks easier or this looks like I can do it, maybe I can build a website for my friend who's just started a bakery, or somebody who has just started a knitting business or something. You don't have to take money for that. It's, you know, you can just say, I want to learn, and you'll also get a website for this, and maybe then you start learning HTML and CSS, then all of this will start clicking. Oh, in that event this happened. Maybe when you can even watch the recording and relearn. So this is a taste of what is available, so you can go back and do it. So from here, I'll be talking about slightly advanced topics of when to use Tailwind, why to use Tailwind, customizing and everything. Right, so somebody was talking about Bootstrap, correct? And how many of you have used Bootstrap before or using right now? Okay, you're using right now. That's great. So there's one thing in Bootstrap that you simply add a navbar and you simply add a jumbotron, and you know those things are readily available. One of the reasons why people don't use Tailwind is because these things are not available in Tailwind. You have to build a navbar by yourself. You have to build an alert and all of those, and you have to add a lot of utility classes. But Bootstrap, most of the Bootstrap websites look similar. Do you agree or not? Right? Because it's either a light navbar or a dark navbar. There are only so many things that you can change in Bootstrap, right? And customizing Bootstrap. How many of you have tried to customize and make it look different? Okay, one person. You know it's a pain, right? Yeah. Yeah, but so there is the Bootstrap framework, and then you're trying to undo a lot of styles and redo a lot of things, and then you don't know if a particular style is added by the framework or by you. If you are the only person maintaining it, okay, maybe. But when there are a team of people, they don't know if that's a bootstrap. Should they look for it in the bootstrap file or should they look for it in the regular CSS file, and how to make the changes, right? Because it's very difficult to customize bootstrap. But here with, I mean, there's nothing against bootstrap. It's great because I also used that for a lot of years. I used it, but then I switched to Tailwind. And for a lot of people, I recommend that if you are wanting to learn about CSS frameworks, first learn Bootstrap itself, and then I recommend jumping to Tailwind. So here I'll show you how easy it is to customize. So let's say you have this, text red 600, and let's say you have a brand color, something that is, probably a different blue which you have to use on all your buttons and all your headings and everything. So what we do is when you have custom colors or anything that you want to customize, this is where you come. Okay, you come to the Tailwind config file, alright, and here within the theme, within extend, you can extend the existing theme. So what is the theme? Theme is all that I showed you, the default color palette and the default values, all that Tailwind already has. Okay, and you want to extend it, so you can simply say color, and then I'll have to refer the docs for this. So let's say I go to, sorry, why do I keep doing this? Yeah. So I say customizing colors, okay, and then here I'll just say using custom colors, and then see. So this is how you do it. So let me copy this whole thing and paste it here. Okay. Can somebody help me connect my charger? Yeah. So let me continue. Now in this place, what you're doing is you're adding additionally. You're adding purple. You're adding midnight. Is there a charger or should I? Okay, I have. So I think I'll remove some of them and I'll only keep this color, let's say. Okay. So this is not there in the default Tailwind color palette. Alright, there is this color midnight, let's say. And now if you can start using this, now that we have added this color into the config file, you can start saying text midnight. See, now it also auto completes. Now I didn't talk about this extension, but you're already, the moment you added it in the config file, you're able to see this. And I can say text midnight, and then here Yeah, this is very close to black, but I think this is what it is, or maybe we didn't run it. Yeah. Yeah, now this should work. Let me change it a little. So let's say, yeah. So you see that immediately you're able to use completely custom colors. Okay. So there's one thing here you need to understand. We added this under the extend block. If we add this outside the extend block, right here, we haven't done this one. Okay. Yeah, we are back. I don't think it's charging now. I think it's either this or that. Okay, I have 9% battery. Let's hope it lasts. Now it's not charging. Remove the charger. Yeah, now it's charging. Yeah. We are back after a short break. One more short break. Okay, so what I was saying is we previously had the colors within the extend block. That is, we are extending the existing theme. But instead, if we add the colors here, outside extend, what happens is we are replacing the entire color palette. So now you can't use text, say red 400. See, it's not even auto-completing because this doesn't exist now. It will not show you text red 400. Yeah, no problem. Okay. Alright, good. Let's start. Okay. So now the only color that's available is midnight. So if you just say this, sorry. Yeah, so this is the only color. That means you've overridden the entire config file. Now this is actually very beneficial because let's say you have a design system, you have a design team. Now this is where you're not using just Tailwind CSS for quickly, creating something just for your own thing. Now this is where it starts to be used for wider teams who really have a design system, who have a set of colors, and they're supposed to use only those colors. You can add all of that in your theme and restrict the developers from using the default color palette. So by accident, they won't use Tailwind blue or something. They have to use the blue that is defined by their design team. This way you can use Tailwind CSS as a tool for your design system. You can specify everything, anything and everything in this theme. You can restrict them from using, maybe sometimes a lot of people don't use grid because later they'll have to print it or something, and that tool doesn't support grid. So you can actually restrict your users from using it. A lot of things. So this config file is where you take from the basic level to the next level in Tailwind CSS. Every single thing is available in the docs of how to customize, be it the fonts, even the basic font that is there, you can customize it here. The number of fonts, the font styles, the font weights, colors, spacing, and adding anything else. You want to add a different height, you want to add a different let's say a different property itself, that's not available in Tailwind. You want to add that, you can do that in the config file. So let me change that back. And this auto completion that is happening, right? So the moment I say font, yeah, the moment I say font and I'm able to see all of this is because of an extension. Let me show you view extensions, and that is Tailwind. It's called Tailwind CSS Intelligence. This plugin is available for VS Code, which is what is helping you autocomplete. Now, I don't know if regular CSS has any of these extensions. I'm unaware of them. But if it exists, great. But since Tailwind has it, you don't have to memorize these class names. You can simply start typing. There was something like blue color, right? Let me use. So, it'll auto-complete and then you'll be able to select from the classes. Okay, so this is about a very short introduction into customization. You can even customize screens, but we haven't spoken about responsive web design yet. Okay, so how many of you know about mobile first approach? In responsive web design, mobile first approach. Okay, so mobile first approach means that you develop for the mobile layout first, and then extend it or make it wider and move on for tablets and desktops. Earlier, what we used to do a decade ago, maybe we used to develop for desktops first, correct? And there were very few mobiles that were even smart devices which would connect. So then a lot of people wouldn't even worry about mobiles. They would just say this device is not supported, and or even forget, it'll all appear in very, very small tiny fonts, and then you had to zoom in and watch. But today, any website you go to, it appears normal. You take it for granted, right? You open that website in a mobile, it should appear normal. That is the expectation today. So the responsive web design approach itself has changed to you first design for a mobile layout and then apply styles for larger screens, right? Using media queries. Now in Tailwind CSS, you don't have to use media queries. So how do you do it? Let me change. Okay. So I'll take the simple example itself because I don't think we have much time. I need to give time for, what do you say, questions also. Yeah. So this is the screen, okay? And now this is a mobile layout, okay? Is this a mobile layout? Yes? Does this look like a mobile? Okay, so let's say we have text blue 500 for a mobile layout and then text, let's say 2XL, okay, because that's what looks good in a mobile. But we want something different for a tablet, let's say, okay. I'll have to do this. So for a slightly wider screen, maybe about 700 pixels wide, let's say I decide to have a different text color, which is very dumb, but just for demonstration. And I'll say I need text pink 600. Okay, but okay, not empty. So you see that for a mobile screen, it's blue, and then the moment we increase beyond a certain breakpoint, that is SM breakpoint, which is like small breakpoint, you can just add SM and then colon and say text pink 600. And for a slightly wider screen, you say MD. So this is also the same, SM, MD, LG, XL, 2XL, and so on. And then here you say I need text orange 600. Okay, so here let me go to 900 breakpoint and see this has changed. Okay, so yeah, you see the changes, right? I'm increasing the size. Unfortunately, you're not able to see that, but this is happening. So we didn't write a single media query. It is so simple. You just have to prefix it with SM, MD, and so on, and you can achieve responsive layouts very quickly. Same goes with Flexbox layouts, You have flex call in mobile layout, and then you have flex row for desktops. You can do all of that using these breakpoints, and even these breakpoints can be customized. So in Tailwind, the docs, sorry, the docs are right here. Okay. Yeah, if you go for breakpoints, and you can see how you can use your custom breakpoints. You don't want to use SNMDLG, no problem. You can you can change the name itself to tablet. So if you customize it this way, you can just say tablet hyphen, tablet colon text 4LG, or 4XL, and so on. You can even configure these breakpoints and everything, right? So that's about how deeply you can customize and configure Tailwind CSS. There is no limit to it, because every single concept that you have on the left, you can see that it has a topic on how to customize the same thing. Alright, so what do we have next? Responsive web design, we saw that. So now, the main thing, what are the pros and cons of using Tailwind CSS? If you just say the word Tailwind CSS on Twitter, a lot of people will come and start fighting. A lot of people say, I love it, this is the framework, this is what we needed, this is what we missed, thank you so much, this is God, and everything. And on the other hand, a lot of people will come and say, this is bullshit, this is ruining everything. Why are you using Tailwind CSS? It makes my code so unreadable. How do you even work with it, etc., etc. So you literally start a war, okay? But to know whether you should use it or not, if you know the pros and cons, then you can decide for yourself. It's not, nobody is imposing it on you that you have to use Tailwind CSS. Yeah, unless your company does, then you'll have to follow. But if you are the person deciding for your team, then it's better to look at the pros and cons and then decide. So first, pros. You already saw that the development time is so much faster. Why? Because you're not switching between two files already, right? Context switching will, you lose the focus. You give it a class name in HTML, go to the CSS file, write the class name, and then give styles, and then come back and check. All of that is lost, and then even the CSS properties, they're so huge, they're so large. But in Tailwind, it's all short and sweet, so you're able to rapidly develop. That is the first pro. And the second one is, like I said, consistency is easy to achieve. You have a team and you don't want different people using different colors for the web pages. You can easily achieve the same color, same height, same shadow, right? Same border radius, all of that. It's easy to make your websites consistent, because that's important. The user will get confused if he sees a rounded button in one place and then what do you say, a sharp edged button in another place. He will wonder, am I in the same website or have I gone to another website, right? Then yeah, even responsive websites is so easy to achieve in Tailwind. You don't have to write media queries. And because you're doing mobile first approach, it's also SEO friendly. Google will rank mobile first websites higher than desktop first. It's very easy to do that. Coming to the first con, yes, the markup, the HTML document does get cluttered. If you want a nice little button, you add about 8 to 10 HTML classes, and it might look a little unreadable for you at the beginning, but trust me, you will overcome that. And if you don't overcome that, if your OCD doesn't let you overcome that, sorry, maybe you might not be able to use Tailwind. But one of the ways to overcome this is to think in components, to make your, like, you will definitely use a front-end framework. You will not be using just HTML and Tailwind CSS, because you will have multiple pages, and multiple pages will have similar buttons, it will have similar headings, it will have similar cards, and so on. So you will be forced to make components and reuse them. And that's the best way. Instead of reusing class names, like in Bootstrap card is a class name, right? Instead of reusing class names, you'll be reusing components, which is even better. That's what the entire web front end is moving towards. As many number of components that can be reused, so you're not rewriting the same card every single time. You're just reusing it, and that also makes it faster. This is a con, but yeah, like I said, you can reduce that, what do you say, the disadvantage. Yes, it's not suitable for all projects. That is design heavy websites which have a lot of animation, custom animations, or very custom, very design strict or design heavy requirements. Maybe you'll be customizing every single thing in the config file. Then Tailwind is probably not useful to you. You should not be dedicated to it and say, no, I am going to use Tailwind itself for this. Maybe for this project you can use regular CSS because it's faster that way. Most of the other websites which are not so design heavy, if you're able to use Bootstrap, then you're definitely able to use Tailwind. It's just up to you to learn those class names and proceed. And yeah, this is a con. You'll never want to go back to writing regular CSS again if you get used to Tailwind. You'll forget some of the CSS properties because these days for text color, if I write regular CSS, I don't write color. I write text hyphen and then I wonder, what's the CSS property again? So you'll forget regular CSS. But if you switch to Tailwind anyway, it's not a con. Okay, some tips to make the best of this framework. That is, the first thing is to read the documentation. It is very good, but I want you to read it like a storybook. It is possible. This docs is really nice. It has examples in for each of the properties that you can actually read it, and then you'll learn so many new things that you didn't know otherwise. Tailwind will make it simpler. If you're already using the framework, make the best of it by going through the docs completely. And then, like I already said, extract components. You can reuse the whole component itself. If you don't know what it is, you should, probably when you use a framework like React or Vue, you'll be able to better understand how to use components and not class names. This is a great tip for you to use. And staying up to date with the framework is very important because Tailwind version 3, which we just saw, a lot of features were not there in version 2 and before, obviously. So every minor release and major release will have a lot of features that you can use and make your life even more easier. So it's best to stay up to date. And how to do that? Official Tailwind CSS blog, you can subscribe to it, or maybe you can even follow Tailwind CSS on Twitter, so you'll keep getting updates of whenever there's a new release. And then there's a Tailwind weekly newsletter by someone called Vivian. Anything new that happens in Tailwind, either by the developers or by somebody else who's released something new, she updates in her weekly newsletter, which is very helpful. That's how I learned a lot of things, new things. And then follow some Tailwind CSS evangelists like me on Twitter who will, keep telling you how to make the best of this framework. There's one person called Surjit. He's from Kerala itself, and he just today, I think, he launched a Tailwind CSS handbook with some 30 amazingly done components. You should really look for him on Twitter, Surjit SM, I think, yeah. Or you can connect to me later. I'll share the handle with you. So you should follow certain people like these who use Tailwind very much, and they also share some tips. So I think, yeah, that's about it. Any questions? You can ask any question as complicated as possible. I try my best to answer, and no question is a dumb question. So you can ask the simplest questions also. Anybody? Yeah, I think you have something. Yeah. Somebody can pass a mic to her. Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening, ma'am. My question is that during web designing time, we can use lot of libraries, external libraries also like Bootstrap.
Yes.
I think sometimes that may cause lot of page loading problems.
Yes.
Web page that may take a lot of time for web pages loading. If we use instead of Bootstrap, we can use Tailwind. That will benefit for our websites.
Yeah, so you're asking, will it benefit?
Yeah.
Yes. So like you saw, if you go to any website that uses Tailwind and it has, like I already shared with him earlier, even if it has about 12 to 15 pages with thousands of utility classes, each of those utility classes will occupy 3 lines of CSS, right? 3 or 4 or maximum 5. Because I showed you the CSS file also, right? For text red 600, it will set a color, of that particular hash code. So even if you have 2000 different, what do you say, utility classes, 2000 into let's say 4, right? That's 8000 lines of code. And still, Bootstrap websites uses tens of thousands of lines of code. So the CSS file at the end of it, after you build it and for production, the development file is same as production file. It will still come up to only maybe 20 KB. That's all, which definitely reduces your load. So it is good for what do you say, faster load time. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good question, actually.
Sineju. So similarly, any other questions? No, Sineju. Any other simple questions, right? Whether you are learning Drupal, English is your problem, you can talk in Malayalam and I will.
Yeah, he'll convert it.
Then ചോദ്യം ഉണ്ടോ? She asked me one question.
Okay. You can sit and ask.
So what she was asking is like she is learning Drupal.
Okay.
So that is whether that is, it has its own CSS and all those things. That is there anything that is related to Tailwind has a link to Drupal?
I don't use Drupal, but I don't think so. Yeah.
So
it's custom CSS.
It is custom CSS for.
You'll have to.
So her question is like in the index page that use the CSS, you included CSS on those things, and then she's checking like in other pages also using the same thing, whether it will be a CSS clash or any other problems like that.
Okay, so you're wondering about cascading, right?
Yeah.
So in Tailwind, you saw that each div has the class names, and you're not using a class name like card or container or anything like that. It's individual properties, so it's as good as writing inline styles. Have you written inline styles? Yeah. So inline styles, if you use it, it'll never clash with other divs, right? But this is not inline style. This has the benefit of inline style, but all those class names, because it's like Lego blocks. You're taking whichever you want and you're building. Won't be a clash at all because you're adding styles to every single block, every single element. There's no name.
The name Shabna, yeah. So any other question?
My name is Rio, and I was you said about extending that themes, right?
Yeah.
So I was wondering, could you say a bit more about that? I heard you were saying another person was doing like a components kind of thing. So I was more about thinking about extending and all the other.
Okay, so I think I'll go back to that and. Yeah, so I just showed you color, but let's say you want a particular height, okay? Let's just call it LG or something. You want a height large, which is let's say 500 pixels. This doesn't exist in Tailwind. In the existing Tailwind that is there, default, this height LG doesn't exist. Like you saw, you can use only H1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't use HLG, correct? But here, now we want to use HLG, so I've added this configuration. What we can do is, now let me add a div down below, and then I'll just add some background color so we're able to see it. Sorry, BG black, and then I'll give it HLG. Now you see it even appears in the auto completion. And now I'll say HLG and I'll open this up. You see that height of 500 pixels has been added. So we are extending the configuration, that is H1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we are extending it to HLG also. So every single property like height, width, color, font size, font family, anything, you can use the existing Tailwind configuration plus add your own. So we just added a 500 pixels height which is not there in Tailwind. So if I remove this configuration, okay, let's say I'll comment this out, okay, and now you see there's no HLG, right, in Tailwind, so it doesn't work. So what I'm saying is, if you're not happy with the already available utility classes of Tailwind, you want to use something of your own, you can add that in the configuration file like I just did, and make use of the power of utility classes saying HLG and add it. There's one more way of doing it. Let's say you need this height only one time. You're not using it in multiple pages, you're using it only once. Then you can use something called as arbitrary values. Very similar to inline styles. So you add that in square brackets, H and then hyphen, square brackets, and whatever is the value that you want, and this works. So you don't have to go to the configuration file and add it. It's a one-off thing. Just one time you want to use that height for one use case. Yeah, please tell. This, no, it's not working as an inline style. It has added it to the styles. Yeah, see, so it's added here. So it's a class name. It has created a class called H500 pixels and it's come here. So it's a normal class. Yeah, so it's not there in Tailwind. You can't add 500 pixels in Tailwind because it doesn't have 500 pixels like that. So whatever is not there in Tailwind, existing by default, you can still add it like a random color. Maybe let's say you want a color like not BG black.
So we need not to maintain any extra style sheet.
Yes, exactly. Something like this. See.
Okay.
Right, a random color which is not there in, but maybe you want it once, maybe just for some Twitter icon or something. You want to add Twitter color. Yeah.
What is the naming convention for unsetting a class? Something like if in SM I have one styling, then MD I need to override it. I mean unset it.
That comes here. So like if you want to reset the entire height, you don't want to use that 1, 2, 3, 4 that is provided. You want your own values, you can add that here. The way I did here. Then you can only use those values.
Not like this. I was saying like, let's say in SM I need border radius. Okay.
Okay.
So I will write SM colon border radius and in MD.
You just rewrite it the way you do it in CSS itself. So
it is like adding none like we do in
yes. In SM you'll have to change it back. So in SM you need BG black, and then you do it. And then for MD you just add BG, let's say blue 400 or something. So it learns it automatically.
Then it will take the 400 style, right?
Yeah.
I need to completely reset. I mean, let's say it is border radius. The use case is border radius.
What?
Use case is border radius.
Border radius. Okay.
So I added a text there, and then I gave it like
so
MD.
You're saying you need a rounded SM. Okay, rounded full maybe. Like you need a circle for mobile layout, let's say.
Okay.
And then for MD, you don't need a border radius, right? So because rounded means it adds. Why is it not? Yeah, so it's adding a border radius of that. Now you want to unset that.
Yes.
Right? So you say rounded none.
Okay.
So for every single property, there is something like none or zero or something that can be used. You'll have to just refer to the norms.
Yeah.
That's a very good question. But yeah, previously, did I answer your question? The extending part? Yeah, components is when you actually use a framework like React or Vue or any other Svelte or any of those front-end frameworks. But if you're using only HTML and Tailwind CSS and still want to use components, then you can look for what is this? You can use Nunjux files and you can use Eleventy framework, which is like very lightweight, just to make components. You can go to my YouTube channel and there's one video saying how to use Eleventy with Tailwind CSS. I recommend watching that so you can component, as I've shown exactly how to extract headers and footers separately, so you're not repeating that in every single page. Okay. Anything else? Anybody else has a question? You don't have to hesitate. You can ask. Or it's okay. If you don't want to ask right now, you can connect to me on Twitter. Yeah, this is my next book that I'm writing, which will be out in July. So if you know the basics of Tailwind and you've just done a few web pages but you want to take it to the next level, then I talk about a lot of tips and tricks and a lot of plugins that you can use with multiple examples and good practices and everything in my next book. You can pre-order, you can just check for it on Twitter. So that's my Twitter profile. I'm very active there, and any message you send, I will respond. Just don't say hi and leave it there. Ask your question in the very first message so that I'm able to get back to you. You can follow me on Twitter, and there is a link in my bio which will lead to this, and you can go to other multiple links of mine like YouTube, and you can watch my course, buy my other books and things like that. So thank you.
Thank you, Shruti, for this wonderful session. I'm sure that everyone present here had a lot to take home from your expertise and insight about this technology. And I thank you all for this part of this event. And I invite 580 committee, Laiju, Vishnu, Deepu, Andy, to give her a moment as a token of love.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shruti. It was really stunning session. So how do you like the session? How was it? So are you all in Twitter? So you have to be in Twitter because it is the place where you will know about the latest happening. That any other social media, like LinkedIn, you need to have for maintaining your professional network. Similarly, you have to be on Twitter, and I would suggest you to tweet Shruti and like have her have one comment on what you actually like about her or the session and all those things in Twitter. Shruti, okay?
Tag me, otherwise I won't be able to read your.
Yeah. So at Shruti SHRUTIBALS. Yeah. Shruti Balsa. And any other questions? So it's time for her to leave. It is now 5. It's past 5, right? Okay. And flight is she has to reach the airport at 5:30. Normally, 5:40 is this is where actual discussion happens. This is where people try to connect to each other because there are a lot of people who are into the web here also to get introduced and get connected. So this is the 101st edition of Fireboard. It was started in 2013. Okay. And thank you so much. And let us officially wind up the session. Okay, and thanks to Jinku, who actually.
I noticed your profile a couple of years back, and I was very impressed by the growth that you are doing. And in fact, my wife actually told, this is a person like I look up. So I was very, very impressed to actually, see your profile. And I thought this is one thing that, that will, beyond that, topic. I'm not saying the topic is bad. Beyond that, your life story will inspire almost everybody over here. So that's seriously good. Thanks a lot for coming, and it was great having you.
Thank you so much for initiating.
So let's have a picture together. Yep. So, very good. So let's have a picture together. Put it around.
If everyone stands, everyone stands here is
Everyone
better.
stands here. This side. And what are you going to do? You want to marry, you want to marry. So you get it, you do come here and you do. Okay, let's see. Are they really together? You can be your fans. Come forward. Let's together and then അതിന് മുകളിൽ ഞാൻ ബോർഡ് കൊടുത്തതാണ് You are I'm already yeah, use it. Come on. We go and identify the series from the presentation. Okay. You have to get the energy. The energy is gone after your session. What is it? They are not making any noise. Was my session that bad? Please make some noise and prove it to them. Yes. Ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3, start. What word? No, like cheese. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, start. Yay! ಒಂದು video na photo ಇರುತ್ತೆ. Okay. I'm just after. We will do A until we reach that. Okay. Okay, ready? Continuously. You just get above the chairs. Ready? Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, start.